Xenoblade X is no doubt the lightest story in the Xenoblade franchise. It just doesn't have moments like...
To save...
or... X just does not focus much on character moments or arcs, and indexes its effort elsewhere. Instead of wondering how you're going to diagnose everyone on the main cast for therapy, your mind is occupied with different things. Like flying up to that big pod in the sky and going, oh wow, that's cool. That's very pretty. Oh lord. Oh god. Oh god, no. But today is not about that. Today is about really the only scene that matters. But before we dive into Chapter 11, let's set the scene. The only characters with any hope of developing are Elma and Lynn. They are the first characters introduced, and are the only ones required for your story missions. But for the most part, the story missions are very ho-hum, go do the thing, go stop the villain, where Elma and Lynn's characters peak are not in their conflict with the villains, but in their conflict with each other. Our two female protagonists are set up on very opposite sides of the spectrum. Elma is a wily vet, well-experienced leader of the group, and as the leader, she plays the calm, steady, logical hand. She holds her emotions tight to the chest and closes herself off to others. Having to hide a worldwide conspiracy will do that to a person, I guess. But nonetheless, Elma presents a confident, authoritative, and serious persona. Her stronger, more volatile emotions do break through at times, but she is the strong, focused leader that takes on the burden of responsibility for her team.
The only agony would be suffering you any longer.
Tell him!
She's endured in the face of adversity, most of which is kind of unknown at this point. Hence, she is willing to do whatever it takes to see through humanity's survival and make it so that adversity was not for nothing. Lynn is a naive Nepo baby who...
Lynn earned her spot on the crew like anyone else.
Okay, fine, let's start that over. Lynn is a naive child prodigy. While Elma got on Project Exodus being a team leader and skilled battler, Lynn got on being a knowledgeable weapons engineer with the Outfitters. Where Elma is calm and steady, Lynn is emotional, frightened, and prone to her own outbursts. Where Elma is focused and mature, Lynn is more peppy and comical. She does still fit the standard bill of a younger character representing innocence and the future humanity is fighting for. Where Elma has faced adversity, Lynn has also faced her fair share of adversity. And that adversity of losing her parents means Lynn is not just a completely naive but talented kid. She is grounded and motivated by something more personal than the vague endurance of the human race. And as an aside, it is incredibly strange to have Lynn selected for Project Exodus even as a child prodigy. Like, you're in MIMS that don't age anyway. There's no real cost to picking older people for the white whale. This isn't a quarterback on a rookie contract. Like, even if Lynn is super smart for a 13-year-old, did we really pick up all the 20 to 40-year-olds that are smarter than her? Even if she was simply among the smartest options available. Surely you just keep her in the hangar doing engineering stuff and not send a middle schooler out to fend for her life against dangerous wild aliens. Surely that's where we can draw the moral line, right? To that extent, I think Tatsu and all the annoying food jokes make sense. Lynn has no one her age to interact with, so Tatsu can be that outlet, allowing Lynn to be more of a kid rather than a kid burdened with the perseverance of the human race. But back to the main compare-contrast at hand. They're different even in battle. Elma is the offensive glass cannon, while Lynn is the defensive tank. Again, morally odd that we're sending a child into battle to tank hits rather than be backline, but like, it's, you know, they kind of had to be different battle sizes, kind of just how an RPG works. Now, Elma and Lynn's opposing natures can't really be put at odds most of the time because the third member of the party is a mute piece of cardboard. There's no one to really facilitate interaction beyond go do the job. And also, I'm going to refer to the playable character as the Avatar rather than Cross, because to give them a name would be to humanize them, and I will not humanize that which has no humanity. Bars. We need that third party to really drive home the contrasting personalities and... Oh, hey, Lau. Whether you consider it intricate foreshadowing or blatant exposure, Lao serves as that third party and twist villain. A villain with far more interesting motivations than a random prophecy, and far less neck veins. Ugh. And he's the guy that Lin and Elma can actually demonstrate their ideological differences with. As Lao makes off with the valuable data terminal and delivers his grand monologues from within the Prague Ares, he still gets his ass beat. Come on, Lao. I was not power leveling through the servant sacrifice slot machine for nothing, Lao. I'm not here to play games, buddy. Elma is also not here to play games. She draws her gun to threaten a downed Lao for the data file. She earlier proclaimed that shooting Lao wasn't in humanity's best interest, with the logical reason that a bullet shot could damage the data terminal wherever Lao is hiding it. But now she goes to threats to better those odds, and worst comes to worse, Elma will take her chances and live with the consequence. To Elma, this is the unfortunate point they have reached. She went against her instinct, telling her Lao was a ganglion spy earlier and helped him live in Silvalum. This is her responsibility, and she can't make the same mistake twice. Elma threatening Lao's life has to work. It's a threat to something he must value. This whole excursion across the galaxy has been for the perseverance of life and all the individual lives that were lucky enough to go with it. Lao was a lucky one, so surely he values his life. Any human should be compelled to have that survival instinct. It is fully rational for Elma to believe that fear of death would compel Lao to do as she desires and hand over the data. But Lao doesn't work how Elma thinks a human should. Lao is far more nihilistic. He's fine going down as long as the human race goes down to its natural decay and extinction. Lao wants to die. He wants to reach peace with his family. His life is forfeit and humanity's time is fraudulent anyway. Whether head or heart, the only outcome Lao desires is for Elma to shoot. While Lao's life may not be valued by himself, it is valued by Lin, someone who has gone through heartache and loss on a similarly personal scale. Through her emotions and empathy, Lin doesn't just fall in line with the leader. In Lin's childish optimism, she sees that ideal ending. That despite all the terrors she's seen of exploding life-hold units, a flaming NLA, and Zoofarg decimation, this mission, this one, can surely succeed with everyone unscathed. Elma doesn't initially cave to Lin's secondary goal. The primary goal of the mission surely comes first. Elma's first line of convincing Lin to step aside has more to do with the 50% probability of data retrieval than her being about to blow Lao's brains out. Now, I'd like at this point if you, as the boring avatar, got to pick which character ideology you side with. The rational survival of humanity at any cost, or the emotional prolonging of Lao's life. But no, you have to side with Lin here. That's understandable. It's the kind of game Xenoblade is, but whatever. With the avatar now by her side, Lin starts up her tirade. As with many sci-fi stories, what makes us human is a core question Xenoblade X poses. And it's not too unique in its aspersion that what makes us human is the wicked underbelly, the backstabbing, the greed, the selfishness. But Xenoblade X does make sure it grapples with all facets of humanity that it can. Just look at the other species you come across. The Manon are obsessed with advancement and efficiency. Everything is rationally laid out and planned in the name of science. Many times in side quests, Manon will question the actions of humans, like believing a god they cannot confirm exists. Many parts of humanity just seem pointless to a Manon. The Rothians do have plenty of that human emotion, almost to an extreme. They're driven by honor and vengeance throughout their tales to do some pretty stupid things. They fall more in line with Lao, but on a more collective level. To the extent that even Jarg says, hey, some people think we have to calm this warring stuff down, that we can learn a bit from the humans, like, that may be the way to go. I don't care if emotion and compassion is seen as soft pansy shit, maybe there's something to learn here. Then you've got the Orpheans, who seem to have so little in the way of personal connections. Everything is just wired to the ova as a united front. With the way they reproduce, there is no connection to their offspring, really. It's just the ova. Those family connections that allowed Lin to empathize with Lao's grief don't really exist in the Orpheans. They do look out for one another, but it's more towards the perseverance of the Ova, rather than a special connection between any individual Orpheans. It brings together a unique entourage of species to learn about on Mira. They're not inferior to humanity, but help to contrast in what makes humanity unique. When compared to humans, each species has something that feels out of place, like something is missing. Missing things that altogether form Lynn's actions at the end of the chapter. The Manon are missing Lynn's willingness to be illogical. The Rothians are missing Lynn's compassion and forgiveness. The Orpheans are missing Lynn's family bonds. Lynn's words focus on the negatives of what makes us human, while her actions point us towards those underlying positives. And Lau chooses to take some belief in those positives. He abandons his selfish crusade and concedes the data terminal to Lynn. It's cliche how quickly Lau flips his mind, that he gets a moving speech from a young member of the team and stops being a villain. Lau buys into the hope Lynn represents, the hope for a better future for humanity that he at one point was trying to build for his own daughter. Lynn tells Lau not to die, and we're off to go get the Lifehold, while Lau stews in defeat. And as Lau's contemplation reveals, this all didn't really mean anything. If Elma shot Lau, he could get fixed back up in another Mim. Hell, Elma wouldn't even have to have given Lynn a warning shot. She could have just shot Lynn in the foot and have Lynn's Mim go in for repairs. There'd be no real lasting consequences if Elma played this out the way she wanted to. Rationally speaking, everything could have worked out the same in the end with no real death. But emotionally, there are lasting consequences. There are lasting consequences to getting the job done at any cost, regardless of what the final result is. She cannot simply accept the sole burden of whatever the final result is, because it is a burden on everyone else as well. Alright, that was the one interesting cutscene from Xenoblade X, and since it was so good, why not run it back? After analyzing the terminal, Blade is off to secure the fabled Lifehold core. They beat down Luxar in his PSP Vita, but no one made sure Alien McBadguy was dead, so he just starts slinging shit. Pretty fascinating to watch a Ganglion just possess legit magical elemental powers. But I digress. Lau's here to redeem himself and save the day, but gets drowned in DNA? Overflown with DNA? As the frankly sick and awesome abomination of Lau's new form looms large, Lin again wants to jump to his defense. But this time, the happy ending cannot suffice. There is a line at which the goal of the mission comes first. There is a time where those bonds have to reach their end. A time where the loss of self-consciousness has gone beyond the extent of a Mim. This time, there's no way out.
This time, I'll shoot.
Even while Elma conceded the Lao shot earlier, she is the one that truly understands the scale here. One that has seen her entire species get wiped away. She no doubt lost some friends and family just like Lin has, but even still, Elma remains geared more towards the greater good and the general perseverance of a species because of what she's witnessed firsthand, that it can just all come crumbling down. She knows they are dealing with extinction, and if a few eggs need to be cracked, so be it. She's been burdened by the loss of her planet, the loneliness of the cosmos, the guilt of letting a friend pilot a machine she knows she should have been in instead.
It should have been me!
It all has to mean something. It all has to be worth getting to the final goal. With all that, Elma is hardened to be as decisive as possible. Without a mind to reason with, taking up the gun is the only option. For Lin, this is just the simple loss of innocence. That no matter how much you work, no matter how much you struggle, no matter how much you choose to see the good in others, the Reaper still stands to take his toll. And even when you think it's done, the light at the end of the tunnel in sight, it's time for the struggle to start all over again. Even as Lao fades up into the moats.
Yo guys, it's me, Charlie. Hey, did that guy just turn into sand?
There's hope that maybe again this was all for nothing. With the tools of the Lifehold core, Lao's consciousness and memories could be made whole once again. So maybe Lin can prevail, get out with that happy ending, with no tragic loss. Except this time, it matters. With the interior flooding, any hope of Lao's consciousness getting re-uploaded washes away. He has reached his peace. Lao is dead. And humanity is left to wonder where all that hope for the future has to go now. Alrighty, video squared away, I can get to chapter 13, where maybe there's something that... Oh lord. What the hell are we... We're flashbacking? Oh man. Alright, there's more to do here, but I'm not going to belabor it. The title says one scene, I've already cheated and done two. In the final chapter, Lin really starts to crack under the third extinction level threat she's had to deal with. Again, why did Exodus take on a middle schooler and expect them to deal with this kind of mental stress? Did they take on any licensed therapists and the mediators,
No, of course not!
Lin's perspective of simple optimism and childlike naivete is at its end. Now, to her, there is no big, wonderful white whale family. There is no innocence or complete protection of those close to her. Having to confront with the underside of humanity, having to empathize with Lao's grief, that takes a toll. She even abandons her greatest pastime and relinquishes Tatsu Fujo's responsibility to Al for the chapter. Lin gets far more aggravated, whether dealing with people who don't want to continue living, or being gaslit by God? The cosmos? Satan? Satan. Similarly to Abomination L, Void represents something that is beyond reason. Something Lin cannot try to understand. Something that does not even have a comforting voice of reassurance. Something that is motivated by a goal far outside the realm of human comprehension. There really isn't a good option, other than, get a gun out! Lin takes on a more direct, driven attitude in the final chapter, which can be seen as her growing up. But Lin also kinda tries too hard to grow up and leave that hopeful, wide-eyed persona in the past. In Lin's current mind, even one of the most selfless actions of throwing your life on the line for someone else can be twisted into selfishness, can be twisted into Lin's selfish desire to not go through any more loss. And so Lin believes she's not this pure bastion representing all that's good about humanity, that it's become far more complex, and that she herself is driven by selfish motivations. Which is by no means a bad thing. For a game filled with people spouting off about the will of humanity to live and the endurance of the human race, it's not quite the real truth. No one in Exodus is there for pure selflessness and the greater human race. They're there for the people, in true Xenoblade fashion, for honoring the connections they've lost and elongating the connections they still have. Lin's parents, Leon, Hope's dad, Rox, Yelv's partner, Nagi's comrades-in-arms, Murderous's family, Alicia, siblings. There is something personal, something selfish, driving nearly every party member. And for Elma, she's driven by both sides of the coin, by both the past and the present. She's driven by the loss of her home, her family, her entire species, and is determined not to lose another species that she's found a new family in. Thank you very much for watching. I think this video comes across as a bit pretentious, just because there's not much in Xenoblade X until chapter 13, so I appreciate you sticking around till the end. Happy New Year, and goodbye.